Hi. So right now I will be explaining my solution and how you can do question 5 is the exposing building face of an unsprinkled office building has an area of 910 meters squared, a ratio of 3 to 1 to 10 to 1. So it's asking how far away from the property line, or this is the limiting distance, must the exposing building face, located to allow 42 meters squared of unprotected openings. So so I wrote down the question. So right off the bat, we know it's an unsprinkled office building, uh, an area of 910 meters squared, and a ratio of 3 to 1 to 10 to 1. So the first step is you could do is you go to the appendix, and that should list a bunch of examples of different buildings, and it'll list what building type it is. So you go there to this right here, and you see it lists office building as an example of a group D building. So you know it's a group D building. So from there, around here, there's 4 tables. So this table right here, 3231B, is for uh, groups A, C, D, F, Division 3 occupancies. There's one more for um, groups E, F, Division 1 and 2 occupancies, and there's 2 more for sprinkled buildings. But since it's unsprinkled and group D, we'll be using 3231B table. So next step is to get the percentage of openings. You get that by taking the unprotected openings divided by the area, times that by 100, and you get 4.6%. And then for on the chart, it has a bunch of lists of areas or for areas. So when that you have to take the 910 and round it up to 1,000. Yeah, there's a couple numbers from it's a used book, so there's some writing in it. Ignore that. So we use this table. So you use 910, you round up to 1,000 meters squared. Oh, so the ratio. What the ratio is it's the length divided by the height, or the height divided by the length, whichever is a greater number. So if it falls between 3 and 10, has a ratio of 3 to 1, 10 to 1. There's 2 more. There's less than 3 to 1. So if it's less than 3 to 1, you'd use that. That's the ratio. Or if it's over 10, you'd use this. So right now we have the area and a middle number. So 3 to 1, 10 to 1. So we'd be looking at all the middle numbers here. So yeah, so back to that. Use 1,000 meters squared, the middle, the ratio, so the middle of it. And we have 4.6% of openings. So when you go down here, you go to 1,000, 3 to 1, 10 to 1, and you can't use 0 because it's more than 0. So it must be uh, the second one right here, because this allows up to 7% of unprotected openings. So you just scroll up and you find it's 1.2. The limiting distance is 1.2 meters away from the property line. So since it's more than 0 but greater than 7, you can use the 7 because this allows up to 7%. But and so do these. But here's the thing: is that you want to use the smallest distance away from the property line as the limited distance, and that would be 1.2. So this means that's the minimum distance away from the property line. You can still be, 10, 11, 12 meters away with the same 4.6% of unprotected openings, but you can't be any closer to the property line than 1.2 meters. So, yeah, so you use the above 3 values to find the limiting distance is 1.2 meters. And so normally what else you could do is you can have the area, the ratio from the face of the wall, and you can see how far away a building is from the property line. And you can also use this to find out what's the most percentage of openings that you can have in that building. But for this question, we just needed to see if we had 4.6% of openings, how far away it could be. We know it's 1,000, 3 to 1 to 10 to 1, and it's greater than 0, less than 7, but we also want to pick the smallest of all these, smallest of all the limiting distances meters up here. So we find that's 1.2 meters away is how is the limiting distance for an unsprinkled office building with an area of 110, ratio of 3 to 1 to 10 to 1, and 4.6% of unprotected openings.